reading from Srimad Gita Upanishad as it is. Translation and commentary, His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada. Mother Parvati phoned me up, she said 35, 36. Was anyone here yesterday? 35. 35 today. 34 yesterday. Okay then, we'll do 35. Please repeat. Brihat samatata samnam Gayatri chandasham aham Marsanam margashishoham Riturnam kushamakara. Okay, please repeat word for word. Brihat Sama. The Brihat Sama. Tata. Also. Samnam. Of the Sama Veda songs. Gayatri. The Gayatri hymns. Chandasam. Of all poetry. Aham. I am. Masanam of months. Margashirshaha, the month of November, December. Aham, I am. Ritunam, of all seasons. Kushama, Akara, spring. Could you turn up the mic volume in the back? It's over there in that cabinet. Just find the master volume and take it up 2 notches. Have you found it? The master volume will be on the extreme right. Can you turn it up? More volume. This is too quiet. Hare Krishna. Okay. Yeah, a little more. Just slightly more. Yeah, okay. Thank you. So, purport. Of the hymns, what am I up to? Translation Srila Prabhupada. Of the hymns in the Sama Veda, I am the Brihat Sama. And of poetry, I am the Gayatri. Of months, I am Margashirsha, November, December. And of seasons, I am flower-bearing spring. Please repeat. Of the hymns in the Sama Veda, I am the Brihat Sama. And of the poetry, I am the Gayatri. Of months, I am Margashirsha, November, December. And of seasons, I am flower-bearing spring. Purport Srila Prabhupada. It has already been explained by the Lord that amongst all the Vedas he is the Sama Veda. The Sama Veda is rich with beautiful songs played by the various demigods. One of these songs is the Brihat Sama, which has an exquisite melody and is sung at midnight. In Sanskrit there are definite rules that regulate poetry, rhyme and meter. Rhyme and meter are not written whimsically, as in much modern poetry. Amongst the regulated poetry, the Gayatri Mantra, which is chanted by the duly qualified Brahmanas, is the most prominent. The Gayatri Mantra is mentioned in the Srimad Bhagavatam. Because of the Gayatri Mantra is especially meant for God realization, it represents the Supreme Lord. This mantra is meant for spiritually advanced people. And when one attains success in chanting it, he can enter into the transcendental position of the Lord. One must first acquire the qualities of the perfectly situated person, the qualities of goodness according to the laws of material nature. In order to chant the Gayatri Mantra is very important in Vedic civilization and is considered to be the sound incarnation of Brahman. Brahma is its initiator, and it is passed down from him in disciplic succession. The month of November-December is considered the best of all months because in India grains are collected from the fields at this time and the people become very happy. Of course, spring is a season universally liked because it is neither too hot nor too cold, and the flowers and trees blossom and flourish. In spring there are also many ceremonies commemorating Krishna's pastimes. Therefore it is considered to be the most joyful of all seasons, and it is the representative of the Supreme Lord Krishna. Mukam karoti vachalam pangam laite girim yad kripa tamam vande Shri Guru Ninatarinam. Brihat Sama Tata Saman Gayatri Chandasam Aham Manasanam Margashirshoham Riturnam Kushamakara. Of hymns in the Samaveda, I am the Brihat Sama, and of the poetry I am the Gayatri. Of months I am Margashira, November, December, and of seasons I am flower-bearing spring. So, Krishna is explaining those things that are particularly beautiful and opulent in this material world, and thereby we can see Krishna. Because Krishna is the most sublime personality, and therefore that which is most sublime represents Krishna. Never mind. Never mind. Take it away. It's making it worse. So that which is a very opulent is a sign of Krishna. Right at the end of the verse, this chapter, you will see. Right? Ato va, number 42. Ato va bahu naitena kim jatena tavarjuna vristabhyam itam krishnam ekam sheno stito jagat. But what need, Arjuna, is there all this detailed knowledge? With a single fragment of myself, I pervade and support this entire universe. And the verse before, 41, Yad yad vibhutimat sattvam srimad urjitam eva va tattad avagachyatvam ma tejo myasambhavam. Know that all opulent, beautiful and glorious creations spring from a spark of my splendor. So, yes, we were discussing this last week, how the beauty and wonder that we see in the material world, they indicate the beauty and wonder of the Creator. So that point is very clear to a theist. But a materialist will say no. He will just say it's all by accident. It's a big bang. Or something like that. Some crazy idea. And they'll change their theory every year. If you look at the materialists, they have four basic mistakes. Everything came from nothing, bogus idea. Nothing doesn't exist in the first place, so how can it be the source of everything? The second bogus idea is that having exploded, somehow or other, the chemicals got together and created consciousness. That's the second ignoble truth. Just like in Buddhism, they have four noble truths. So then the third lie, and so Prabhupada would say very obviously that, okay, prove it. Get all your chemicals together and create consciousness. If that's your theory, prove it. Isn't that science? But they can't do that. Then the third one is that once some microbe in the primeval soup or primordial soup created, then two created, and then three or four, and then they became swimming around in the soup, and then somehow or other some went on the land, and some became monkeys, and some went back into the ocean and became whales, and then some started to climb trees and became monkeys, and we're descended from some kind of monkey. And then some became elephants because they needed a long nose to grab things from the ground. And some became giraffes because they wanted the leaves from the top of the tree. And they'll say all these kind of theories and theories. So that's the third one. Right? First is everything came from nothing. Second one is that the nothing created something that created consciousness. Third one is that everything evolved into this amazingly complex ecosystem with all this plants and microbes and birds and trees and animals and humans and planetary system. That's all also by chance. And then the fourth one is they'll say that there's no purpose in it. Right? Because we're just a chemical accident or like that. So this is one of the actual, Krishna says this in the Gita earlier, because Arjuna says, how can I kill these people? So Krishna gives many different arguments why he should kill, and one of the arguments is that, well, Arjuna, if you just think that everything is just chemicals, then why lament? Because the chemicals are conscious now. If you kill one of these soldiers, then the chemicals will still remain. So, what's there to lament? But, of course, the demoniac take this philosophy and then they start wars for profit and they kill millions of people with this idea that it's just chemicals. So ever since this atheism, organized atheism, started, there's been more war and terrible things in the world in the last 150 years than ever before. Previously, if there was a war, the Kshatriyas would have to go on the battlefield, like we see Arjuna, Bhishma, and right? But now the Kshatriyas, so-called government leaders, they go to the bunker, 100 foot underground, and they send all the flowers of the nation to the battlefield to be killed. And then they pop up for a television show. Yes, we have conquered Iraq. Victory for America or something like this. But he's been hiding in the bunker, drinking coffee and having his feet massaged while everyone was dying on the battlefield. But the Kshatriyas, if the Kshatriyas, the government leaders, were having to go to the battlefield, there'd be a lot less war. But they can sit back and press buttons and only appear for television shows. So this is the progress of Kali Yuga. So those four things, these are all based on the idea, don't tell me that there is a supreme person in charge, which is most obvious, because you can have three definitions of the absolute truth. One is voidism, which the scientists believe. There was nothing. Everything has come from nothing. Sunyavadis, as Prabhupada Praskacha, Sunyavadi. Then you can have a monistic view, that everything has come from some kind of reservoir of energy. This is the Mayavadi or monistic view, that that energy, the Brahman, interacts with the three modes of material nature, and it creates the demigods and it creates you and me. But the reality is that Jagat Mithya, Brahma Satyam, that is the only truth. But it can't be monism, can't be monistic, because there's such variety. So but they want to speculate or propose that this energy is nirvisesha and nirguna. Nirvisesha means without variety. And nirguna means without the effect of the material modes, without quality. Because we see the material modes, they do produce quality, or nature, aspects of reality. So, that is not monism, right? But they say this variety doesn't exist, so therefore it is just wordplay. You understand? It is just like Bhaja Govindam, Bhaja Govindam, Bhaja Govindam, Mudamate, Nahi Nahi Rakshati Dukrin Karine. You know, this is what Shankaracharya actually said. He said that worship Govinda, worship Govinda, worship Govinda 3 times for emphasis. You fools and rascals, your grammatical jugglery will not save you at the time of death. Right? So they're juggling. And so Prabhupada explains, nirvisesh means that it means without material variety. Because it is described that the absolute truth is nirvisesh, but it means without material variety. It means variety of the chit shakti. And when it says nirgun, it means, yes, the material modes are not creating qualities, but they have innate spiritual qualities. So then you come to Vaishnavism or personalism. So you can have a choice. Everything came from nothing, which is ridiculous, because nothing by definition doesn't exist. Nothing means the absence of everything. So how can something that doesn't exist by definition explode, or how can it be the source of everything? Because it's not there in the first place. They turn nothing into something. Oh, it's a chunk, a singularity. But then it's not voidism. Where did the singularity come from? Or the chunk of matter concentrated? It's not nothing. So they're juggling words also. Their definition of nothing is something. So it's not nothing. So this is very simple to understand, that how can everything come from nothing? And then the monistic idea is also ridiculous and foolish, because we see variety. Now you may call it illusion because it's temporary. You may call it illusion because it's temporary. But that doesn't mean to say it doesn't exist. You're just juggling words. You're just saying, oh, it hasn't qualities. But we are seeing qualities because of illusion. Well, I'm still seeing qualities. If I'm not seeing those qualities, then I would be in illusion. Right? Do you see the point? Yeah, you can see the point. So they're fundamentally stupid idea. But they want to do that because they're denying the Supreme Person. The voidist is denying a Supreme Person, and then the monistic person, he is also denying a Supreme Person. And then the person that comes along and said, look, there's variety, there's personality, there's consciousness, there's activity, there's lila, there's rasa, because that is in the Supreme Absolute Truth. And so sometimes people then, they come and they say, oh, the Hindu gods, they say, are very human, it's very nice. No, it's the humans that are into copying the Leela of the Supreme Lord. You understand? That is the original Leela of the personalistic absolute truth. That is the real Leela. And we are now in the secondary lower class material energy, the jada, the earthly condition, and we are imitating those Leelas. This is not, it's not that some poet thought, oh, let me write about Krishna book, about some story about some cowherd boy, and I'll make it a perfect version of what's going on in earth. You understand? No, it's the other way round. What the perfection is in the spiritual world, and what's manifest in the material world is a lower secondary version. And Prabhupada says it's a perverted reflection. And so that which, just like a tree, the example is given that a tree on the bank of a river, when you look at the reflection, it's upside down. The roots are on top. So actually the roots of the material world are in the spiritual world. It's not the other way. It's not that the Leela of Krishna and Lord Shiva and Surya and all the demigods, that these were just created by Veda Vyas because he thought that was a nice thing to do. No, that's an actual description of the reality of the spiritual world, and we are engaged in the lower class material energy. And however, because Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnat Udashite Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasishite, because this has emanated from the complete whole, the complete Supreme Person, it is carrying the qualities of that Supreme Person. But because they are manifesting in the material energy, they are of a lower status, particularly on Bhumandala, because this is the most gross area of the material universe. Above, you go into the subtle regions, Purloka, Swargaloka, Mahaloka, Janaloka, Tapaloka, Satyaloka, and then the same thing as you go below Bhumandala, you go Atala, Vitala, Sutala, Talatala, Mahatala, Rasatala, Patala, and Narak. You go down, it becomes more subtle, but more in Tamagun. There it goes more subtle, but it goes more towards the mode of goodness. And so on the Bhumandala system here, this is Rajagun is very prominent. People are always breaking buildings, traveling here, going fast on their motorbike and traveling, and useless activity. So Krishna comes to this. He comes to Bhumandala. He comes to Vrindavan. He comes here. He goes to Navadvip Dham as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He manifests his Leela in the Bhoma Leela, right in the middle. He has expansions in the heavenly planets, and he has also in Dhruvaloka and Upendra, he's with Indra, and he's also with Bali Maharaj and so on. But he manifests the transcendental Leela here. And that is the Srimad Bhagavatam. It is to tell us how Krishna is and how he relates to all his devotees. And so those that study the Srimad Bhagavatam, they realize the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And here in the Gita, Krishna is making an important point, that all the manifest opulences that are very striking in this material world, they indicate himself. Just like the sun indicates the Father, you can say. So the material world, yes, there is beauty, there is strength, there's opulence, there's wealth, there's fame, there's poetry, but this is all coming from the absolute truth. It is not a chemical reaction. We talked about that in the Bhagavatam class too. That the scientists think that the gross energy is creating the subtle aspect. The gross matter is creating consciousness at a certain level of complexity. But we don't say that. No, the soul is spiritual, but he's within the material body. And therefore the material body, as long as it's useful, the soul remains there. But then according to his work and desire, he will take another material body. And he'll be in that material cycle eternally, unless he takes to worship. So Krishna says, Aham sarvasya prabhavo matak sarvam pravartate. Iti matva bhajanti mam buddha bhava samamvita. That I am the source of the material and spiritual, Those that know this, they engage in my devotional service and worship me with all their hearts. So, when Krishna is explaining this to Arjuna, he's making him Krishna conscious from the material point of view, right? Because it's very hard, like I say, people read Krishna Leela and they think, oh, this is a poetic idea of Godhead, right? Written by some great poet. Or the stories in the Mahabharata, that is also a poetic idea. But no, Krishna, so as a bridging platform to that transcendental Leela, that Leela of Krishna with the gopis, Krishna with Mother Yashoda, the Narayan expansions, Haridam, Maheshtam, then Krishna is, okay, you can't jump to that understanding straight away, so then see me in the material energy. See my opulence in the material energy. And then by seeing those opulences, you become inspired. Just like if you see a beautiful sunset or a rainbow, it lifts the heart, does it not? You think, oh, this is very wonderful. Huh? Or you see a great dancer, then you think, oh, this is inspiring. Or a great musician, it lifts the heart. The opulence that you see in those, the dancer, in the singer, in the writer, the poet, they indicate something special. So Krishna is saying here, look at the opulence in the material world, those special things, and why are they so inspiring? Why is it so inspiring to see a sunset? The scientists will come along and say, oh, the sunset is caused by the sunlight being refracted by the atmosphere, and then it's creating these colors. But that doesn't really explain it. That doesn't explain the elevating nature of it. So the scientists, they approach the material energy and they want to explain everything according to their laws, but they don't want to recognize a lawmaker. Just like we have laws in India or all over so the laws don't just pop into existence in a country. You have lawmakers, then you have maintainers of the law, and then you can change the law. The laws are under a person, just like Prabhupada made instructions for ISKCON, but they didn't just appear out of a chemical reaction. So the beautiful, wonderful things that inspire us in the material world, Krishna is telling us through this, see me in that way. And then it will develop your faith that that transcendental Lord, He is the source of all opulences. Like He says, what is the need of all this detailed knowledge? With a single spark of my splendor. Splendor means that elevating, wonderful, talented quality. Just a spark of that, I am pervading and supporting this whole universe. Because the scientists, they have their string theory, right? They see all these material energy, and there is a concept called entropy, right? Why do the molecules stay together? The atoms and protons. Why doesn't the whole universe just melt away into a goo? You know, why do trees stay as a tree and water stay as... What is the binding force? So they have this string theory, and they say that something beyond the matter is maintaining the matter in its particular categories. But we have our thread theory. Sutri mani gana iva. Krishna says, I am the thread upon which everything is held. Just like the beads. Why is this neck beads? Because there's a thread through it. If you take out the thread, the necklace goes apart. It just falls apart. So the scientists are recognizing, even through their empiricism, that there's something binding the universe together. But They're not ready to say that it's a supreme person. But Krishna says, yes, I am doing it. All this is all resting upon me. Krishna is threaded three-dimensionally, if you like, through the whole material universe, or fourth-dimensionally if you can include time. And everything is resting upon him. And that function is it directly Krishna, you can say? Yes, but Krishna as Paramatma. Paramatma is in the material world. He's not in the spiritual world. So the material world is a mixture of matter and spirit. The spiritual world is unmixed spirit. So therefore, because it's material, there's birth, death, old age, disease, there's illusion, everything is temporary. In the spiritual world, the material time factor is absent, and everything is in the eternal time. So that's very hard to understand, because we're conditioned, right? We think in terms of time and space. But in the spiritual world, time and space is the servant of Leela. Here it is controlling us. Like, I have to be here at 5:30 to give class. But if Krishna wants, he can go in one step to Radhakund from Ramanreti, or he can take a leisurely stroll. If he wants to enjoy the Ras Leela, like we see in the Bhagavatam, the night of Ras Leela expanded into a day of Brahma, right? So time is the servant there, but here in the material world, time is the controller. So time, Krishna says, Kalosmi aham, time I am. And this absolute function of time indicates also, I think it's the previous verse, isn't it? No, it says, I am all devouring death, right? Yes, I am all devouring death. Yes, Mrityu Sarvaharashchaham, number 34. And he says, it's very interesting, I am the generating principle of all that is yet to be. So I devour everything and I also generate everything. So the material world, everything is working under a time factor. And if you want to do something, you're absolutely dependent on having to do it, time to do it in. But no, in the spiritual world, time, space, just like this room, we can maybe fit 100 people in, right? But in the spiritual world, Krishna can go to the bank of the Jamuna and everyone can sit next to him with all his cowherd boyfriends. That's the Ras Leela, right? Krishna and Radha and Krishna are dancing in the middle, and then Krishna has expanded himself to dance with each gopi. And the acharyas have written that Krishna, he has the ability, even though there's unlimited spirit souls, every spirit soul feels special to Krishna. It says, I have a special relationship with Krishna. And it's true, because Krishna is unlimited. And he's not bound by material time and space. Those things are the emanations from him. He's not controlled by them. They're emanations within the material, the lower, the jada, prakriti, the low, gross energy. They're not there in the spiritual world. So Krishna can dance all night with the gopis for as long as a night of Brahma in one night in Karnik, or he can dance for 5 minutes. And so time and space that control us, and death, that is absent in the transcendental abode. So it is the contemplation of that sambhutim vinasam cha, like it says there in the Ishupanishad, it is the contemplation of that spiritual realm that is what the great rishis and devotees are doing. They're meditating on the Leela of Krishna, they're meditating on different aspects of Krishna for thousands of years, and they're realizing the spiritual world. So that is what we should do. But for a beginning platform, we have to see, the Supreme Lord's, his opulence is can you not do that, please?
It's just accidental, sorry.
Yeah. The opulence is a distraction. It's a distraction. It is an indication of the supreme opulence. But you have to be theistic to grasp that. You have to have rejected voidism and monism, and you have to have come to the conclusion, like also it's there in the Sharika Bhashya, I believe Prabhupada quotes, Narayano Paro Vyaktat, that Narayan, the shelter of all souls, is above the Vyaktat, this Avyaktat and Vyaktat, the manifest material world. So, that is why the opulence has been described here. So that we are in this material world bound by material time and space. But let us see the Supreme Lord. Let us see this material world in relationship to the spiritual world. But then we have to go beyond that into reading the Bhagavatam and meditate on the Leela of Krishna directly. And that is what Mahaprabhu has done. Through the 6 Goswamis, particularly, he's revealed the most intimate aspects of the Leela of Krishna. He's not just explained that Krishna is Vishnu and Narayan and Aishwarya Bhav. No, Mahaprabhu is Namo Mahavadanyaya, the most merciful, because he is showing the way to the most intimate aspects of the Absolute Truth. And that is Krishna, Parakiya Ras, in Vrindavan. So this appreciation of opulence, that is not just for the Vedic scholars, but it is natural for the human being, is it not? The young man, he's no knowledge, he might be in Africa or America or somewhere. He looks at the stars and the skies in a clear night and the moon and he thinks, wow, where does this universe end? Does it end at all? It's amazing, right? So the opulences and the beauty of the material world, they do inspire us. So Krishna is saying, yes, they inspire you because they're my opulences. See them in that way. See a beautiful dancer as as possessing my opulence. A beautiful singer as possessing opulence given by me. A learned sage as opulence given by me. An intelligent, just like Sanatana Goswami, when the Muslim ruler came there, they respected him. It's in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, Hussain Shah. He was going around, making war. Sanatana was the prime minister. But Sanatana was reading the Bhagavatam, but when that Yavana king came, they still respected him. Why? Prabhupada explained, because he is in a position of authority. So that authority reflects the supreme authority. It's bestowed, or it represents the supreme authority. So that is yoga. Whatever we see in the material world, we can relate it to the Supreme Absolute Truth. But you can't do that if your conception of the Supreme Absolute Truth is impersonal. Right? Because you just say it's illusion, and you dismiss it. Oh, this person's a great singer, but it's illusion. Well, then listen to a bad singer, and then tell me it's illusion. Why is that a good singer and why is it a bad singer? Why, if it's all illusion, why are some things good and why are some things bad? Why don't you play your records backwards? Or why do you say this is nicely cooked and that's not nicely cooked? This is a nice illusion and this is a bad illusion. Huh? If it's all illusion, instead of putting sugar in your tea, why don't you put salt? It's all white. It's just illusion that one is salty and the other is sweet. If it's all illusion, huh? Why not put your breakfast through your ear hole? It's not illusion. There are fixed laws, huh? And they indicate a lawmaker. So in this way, and also you can't relate the wonderful opulences, that's monistic nonsense, to voidism either, can you? You can't think and see, like a young man, he falls in love with a beautiful girl. She's everything to me, right? Oh, no, she's not everything to you. She's nothing. She's come from nothing. Why do you think she's everything? Everything has appeared from nothing. No, so the thing is counterintuitive. Monism and voidism are counterintuitive. Do you understand? They don't satisfy the intuition, the inner sense, the intelligence. But then if you hear, as Krishna is explaining here, all these wonderful opulences and this amazing creation with all the animals and all the interactions and everything in the land and the sea and the sky, this indicates a supreme artist. Just like if you come in here and there's a big painting on the wall of a sunset, what would you say? Oh, that's really good. Who painted that? Right? But the scientists say, oh no, it happened by accident. Why do you want to know the painter? It's all a chemical reaction. It's all some evolutionary freak. Huh? No, you see something wonderful, a creation, you think, who's the creator? Who made it? You hear music, you may hear some great musician, you think, who's that? Who created that music? That's your natural intuition, is it not? That's your natural intelligence. That there's some opulence, there's a creator, there's a person behind it. So you can relate everything in the material world very satisfactory to the conception that it's come from a supreme person. But you can't say that if it's just come from a monistic energy that only has the quality of existence, sat. Doesn't have consciousness of itself. It doesn't have anand, because that would mean variety. It doesn't have vigraha, form and personality. Or no, you can't. So you can't say it's come from nothing, because where has all this amazing thing come from? How can you say it's come from nothing? So therefore, any reasonable person will say yes. The absolute truth. The best case is made by the personalist, right? Right? They may not. Yeah, go ahead. So we'll finish on that point. This is an important point of the opulences. They indicate, and they can only be satisfactorily appreciated in relationship to a supreme person. Right? That's the point of today. Yes, please go ahead. Thank you for your listening. Any question? Yeah, go on.
You are saying this is the material world and spiritual world is the mixture.
Excuse me?
Material world and spiritual world are mixture in this.
Yes.
So before death, my death, can we see spiritual world here?
Well, that's why we're directed. That's why Krishna, that's why the devotee, he is antirmukh. The Supreme Lord is within the heart. So when we say Supreme Lord is within the heart, we mean he's there with the spiritual world. So the devotee, and this is in the Brahma Samhita, you know the verses, Chintamani Prakaras, Venum Kamvantam, Advaitam Achyutam, all the description of the spiritual world. The devotee installs that vision within his heart. And just like at the beginning of the Bhagavatam, Narada Muni, he was instructed by the Bhakti-Vedantas, this is the form of Vishnu. Now you sit down and every morning and evening meditate on this form. And then one evening, Vishnu actually appeared to him. Instead of the Manasa Murti, the Murti made with the mind, the actual Supreme Lord entered into that. He gave darshan. So the devotee, within his heart, he visualizes and contemplates the Leela of Krishna. This is the esoteric practice of Rag Bhakti taught by Mahaprabhu and the six Goswamis. And by meditating on that way, he becomes antirmukh, inward looking. The material world is predicated on outward looking. People are looking for something nice to smell, nice to touch, nice to drink. You understand? Outside. But the devotee is antirmukh. And so, from the Shastra, Brahma Samhita, Srimad Bhagavatam, he installs the deity within his heart. This is called Bhuta Shuddhi. And he chants in contemplation of that. Just like Narada Muni at the beginning of the Bhagavatam, the beginning, he is meditating on the form of Vishnu. And then Vishnu appears. So we can have vision of the spiritual world by the grace. That is, in Nectar of Devotion, Atak Shri Krishna Namadi na bhaved grayam indriyai sevan mukhi hi jivado swayameva spuryada spurti. So Krishna's name, form, quality and pastimes are not accessible by the material mind and senses. But by starting devotional service, starting with the tongue, just taking very carefully only Krishna Prasad, only talking about Krishna, chanting about Krishna, meditating upon Krishna in the heart, swayameva spurti, spuryada. It becomes, by the mercy of Krishna, the spiritual world becomes revealed progressively to the devotee. So in Jaivadharma, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he explains 3 levels of darshan of the spiritual world. First one is Vak. The Supreme Lord may speak words to a devotee. First one is Bhava. The devotee in his meditation, and this is very common, we should watch for this, he feels, Bhaktivinoda Thakur talks about this in Chaitanya Shikshamrita. He says he feels a different level of consciousness if you practice meditation, Gayatri meditation as mentioned here, if you chant mantra, Gopal mantra, then as you become purified, this is a level of consciousness with which I am not accustomed. I know this myself. When I first came to India, I got a book. It was after college. I hadn't met Prabhupada that time. I wandered all around India. And I got a little book for 2 rupees from the railway station. And it gave little and it was about yoga. It was one of those little books people buy to read on the... So it had when you should control your breathing, you should control your mind. So I tried that. And I found, wow, this is a different level of consciousness that I was not accustomed to. I've been brought up, you go to school, pass the exam, then pass more exams. Nobody taught meditation in those days in the West. So I got this little book and I found, wow, it's a different plane of consciousness, peaceful and quiet. So on the basis of that, bhava can be bestowed by the Supreme Lord. And the devotee feels, wow, I'm feeling some ecstasy. So that is a form of darshan, bhava. Also during kirtan, sometimes we feel very ecstatic. Or sometimes we're chanting japa and we feel, I could chant, I want to chant more and more. Sometimes, we get that. So that's bhava. That can be increasingly. Second level of darshan is vak. Supreme Lord will directly speak. Just like same Leela, Narada Muni, Vishnu appeared and then he disappeared. Then Narada Muni tried to conjure up the same vision. Then the Supreme Lord spoke to Narada Muni, said, you're not properly purified yet, Narada, I have appeared to encourage you. Now you continue with your sadhana, and then you will surely come to full realization of me. Right? He said something like that to Narada. So that's Vak. And then the third level is Darshan, where the form and personality of Krishna, just like a universal form, that's a form of darshan, is it not? Given there's a certain aspect. So the devotee, he worships Brahma Samhita. He worships the most intimate aspect under the direction of Sad Goswami and Mahaprabhu, the Leela of Krishna. And he also meditates upon Lord Chaitanya, meditating upon the Leela of Krishna. And he learns the Astakala Leela, and he remembers the pastimes within his heart throughout the day. So this is the most intimate aspect. This is seeing Krishna in the opulences of the material world, and this gives us faith to go further. So a devotee, yes, he can have the darshan of Krishna. And Lord Chaitanya said, now I broke open the storehouse of love of God, who will take the fruit? So we have to take. Just like Krishna says in the Gita, Yeyatam mam prapadyante, all of them as they surrender to me, not as I make them surrender. We have to, because Krishna doesn't want to be a bully, he doesn't want to interfere with our independence. He's given us independence, he's not going to take it away. So we approach Krishna. And there's that verse quoted by many acharyas, that the Supreme Lord and the living entity are living within the tree of the material body. And the living entity is enjoying the fruits of the tree. He's enjoying the bodily pleasures. But the other bird, Paramatma or Krishna, is waiting for that living entity to stop eating the fruits of the tree and turn to him. So that's Antirmukh. You're looking for Krishna. Krishna is there, the soul is within the heart. And Paramatma, we're resting on Paramatma. Sometimes it's painted. You know, you have a picture of Paramatma and then they show a spark, meaning the spirit soul. But no, when Krishna says all-pervading, Krishna's pervading the individual soul. We're resting upon Krishna. All existence is resting upon Krishna, just as pearls are strung upon a thread. Sutri mani gana iva. So the soul is resting upon Krishna. But we're looking outward from the beads, not to the thread. So that means looking within. And therefore it is a yogic practice. First of all, I'm not this material, the paraphernalia of the material body, griha. Then I'm not the deha. Then I'm not the mana. I'm not the mind. I'm the soul. And then, what is the soul? The soul, let me situate that soul within Krishna. That's the steps of inward meditation. You know, Bhakti Vinod Thakur, Manasa Deha Go, right? Yeah. Nanda Kishore. All my griha, my mind, my body, I give them all up. Now I belong to you, Nanda Kishore. You see? So that's how the devotee, instead of, you see, we have to be careful in Krishna consciousness. We had one material false identity, then we come to Krishna consciousness and we get another false ego. I'm the temple president. I'm the treasurer. Or I'm a brahmachari. Or I'm a grihasta. You see, the material body changes, so does the false ego. You understand? According to external situation. So, if we just leave material life and come to live in an ashram and we develop another false ego, that's not progression of any real sort. The ashram is a place to take shelter where you can learn your real swarup, jivara swarupa niche. Yeah. So that nichera Krishna Krishnera Nichara. So we have to learn to look within. And just like, I say, the spiritual world, you can put the whole spiritual world on the top of a pin. You can have the whole spiritual world in your heart, because it's beyond material time and space. So the devotee, he chants within the heart. And just like Dhruva Maharaj, he conjures up a vision of the spiritual world. Venum kamvantam aravinda dalaya taksham. And he meditates, Krishna is there within the heart with his devotees. And I'm chanting. And my chanting is like the offering of flowers at his lotus feet. You see? Because, just like if I say mother, every one of you will have a mental picture of your mother, right? So the thing is, rejecting material form is not enough. I'm not this material body, I don't belong to this country, this family, this society. No, you have to replace the mind always conjuring up form. Because like I say, the absolute truth is form. So you have to internally create form. If you're not thinking of Radha and Krishna and Gaur-Nitai within the core of your heart when you're chanting, then the material forms will come up. You see? Because the mind isn't a void. Right? This is personalism. So we have to fill the mind with spiritual form. And then material form won't enter. But if we just try to say, I'm impersonal, I'm voidistic, then the material form will enter because it's a vacuum. Nature absorbs a vacuum. So the Vaishnava, the personalist, his contemplation is Vishnu. He's Vaishnava. All the forms of Vishnu. He sees Krishna and Arjuna on the battlefield. He fills his mind with that. So just like when you read Bhagavad-Gita, you can read the words, but you can also think, in the middle of the battlefield, there was Krishna and Arjuna on the battlefield. Just imagine millions of people all ready to fight, and there's Krishna. Then you get some rasa. But if you just read, I'm not saying you, but if one read about, you're not the body Arjuna, this and that, that's okay. But then you should read this and you should think, oh, look at the battlefield. Imagine the battlefield. Huh? And then the impact of the Bhagavad-Gita is stronger. So we have to fill our mind, not just with sound vibration, but when we think of, when I say Krishna, then what does everyone think? You see the form of Krishna, Shyam Sundar. Right? When you say Hare, that's Radha, it's appealing to Radha. So when we're chanting Hare Krishna, we should be seeing Radha and Krishna. Just in the same way, if you chant Mummy Daddy, Mummy Daddy, Mummy Daddy, you think about your material mum and dad, right? Eventually. So when you chant Hare Krishna, you should be conjuring up. You should be seeing Radha and Krishna. Not you, but we should all. And we should train our minds in that way. You understand? And then you'll get the realization of Radha and Krishna. Do you see the point? Is it clear? Sometimes people say, just chant and everything will happen automatically. What will happen automatically? I don't know, it hasn't happened yet. This is what should happen automatically. You should be realizing the name, form, qualities and pastimes of Krishna. Nam, Rupa, Guna, Lila. So that's in Harinam Chintamani, Bhakti Vinod Thakur is very clear. The devotee cultivates Nam, Rupa, Guna, Lila within the heart. And the mantra awakens the perception of those things. And then one day, Krishna will appear, sooner or later. Right? So the devotee is confident. I'm doing sadhana, I'm chanting, I'm studying Bhagavatam, I'm following the principles, I'm doing regulated bhakti. So Krishna one day will come to me. And he's the ultimate spiritual master, and I'll go to spiritual world and I'll be with Krishna. Rupa Goswami should be confident, right? One of the 6 items. But that means you'll be very confident if you're doing practice in the correct way. So just chanting the mantra and saying it'll all be automatic, like sometimes you hear that. Even in people who should know better, they say that kind of thing in a class. Oh, just chant Hare Krishna and everything will be automatic. But I don't hear that in the Bhagavatam. Vedavyas didn't, or Rupa Goswami or Jiva Goswami didn't write the Satsandarbhas and just say, chant Hare Krishna, it'll be automatic. He did. No, they gave a process. You don't read in Jaiva Dharma, it's a big book, it's full of beautiful explanation. Bhakti Vinod doesn't say at the end of the book, oh well, never mind about all this writing, just chant Hare Krishna, it'll be automatic. You don't find that. That's the kind of thing people have heard on the Bhakti program from some neophyte devotee, and it's stuck in their brain for 45 years, and they've stuck on that platform because they don't read the Acharya's words. They don't read what Jiva Goswami wrote. They don't read what Rupa Goswami. So therefore Prabhupada said, read my books, read my books. Prabhupada never said, oh, chant Hare Krishna, be automatic. Now you might say that to somebody who comes into the temple on the first day. Just chant Hare Krishna and you'll be peaceful. But that is not the whole process, automatic. No, what Krishna says, ye tam mam prapadyante, all of them as you surrender. So surrender means this practice of sadhana. First vaidhi, then rag, cultivate attraction, then rati, attachment, then bhava, then prem. And you do appropriate practice for each of those levels. That's what Rupa Goswami says, right? The beginning of Nectar of Devotion, Rupa Goswami doesn't say, oh, it's automatic. Don't worry about it. So we must know the process from a learned person, from the Shastra, from the commentaries of the Acharyas. We're all very and then we must discuss it amongst ourselves to gain a better understanding, and then we can practice. Right? We can practice nicely. Correct? So, maybe we should, any last question? Quick one? No? Right? Just like now, we're going to evening arti. We sing Jayo, Jayo Gora Chandre. Right? So we should, when we're singing, we should think, there's Lord Chaitanya sitting on a golden throne. And Brahma is doing the arti, and there is Gadadhar Pandit. Yeah, and we get the vision, you see. That's Antirmukh, within the consciousness, contemplating Krishna. You see. All right, thank you all for your very kind attention. Srila Prabhupada Bhagavad-Gita Sadhu Sangha Ki Jai.